Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss the nice guys on business. I'll have what the nice guys on business are having. Running a business is hard. Being a business leader is even harder. The nice guys bring in top industry pros to help your business prosper in a tough world. Get real advice from real people to get you real results today. Now it's time for the Nice Guys on Business. Here's your hosts, Doug Sandler and Strickland Bonner.
Nice Guy community, how would you like to create a 90-day plan that's realistic, includes actionable steps, and provides an ROI that includes more than just money? So our guest today believes that parents deserve more time to enjoy with their family, and you are no exception to that, Nice Guy community. We all need to spend a little bit more time with our family without sacrificing the business that we've been building. Now, our guest today, Ashao, he empowers parent-preneurs, I love that word, parent-preneurs, with his 9-step blueprint to systematize their business, become more effective, and shave 10 to 20 hours off of their work week. That would be pretty cool, but that would put me in the negative. So I don't know if I can work negative hours in the course of a week. Reclaim magic moments with your family without sacrificing business growth. Ashao Freesky, welcome to the Nice Guys on Business podcast.
Hey, Doug. Thank you so much for having me on.
Hey, I'm happy to have you here. And I think we were introduced through one of our team members, Jenny Bellinger, who actually is a client and someone that's on our team doing training for us. And it's always good when I know that that you've passed the test of another host that has been in my network that I've helped create their show. But what was really cool was you did something that most prospective guests don't do. You actually didn't send me an email that was puking product and tell me how great you're going to be for my community. What you did was you said, this is why I actually think I'm going to be good for you, Doug, and your show. You created you did a rating and review directly on Apple Podcasts. You gave us a 5-star review and a great review at that. And you really appealed to that side of me that most people just never even consider, which is not my audience, but me and my show. So thanks for doing that. And is that at all related to like who you are as a person?
Well, that's so great. I'm glad that my email hit home for you. And I like to think about what other people need when how can we collaborate in a way that's a win-win. I'm always looking for that middle ground that's really going to make it great for everyone.
Well, and you did that, and you hit a home run with that. And then as I started to actually say to myself, oh shit, I better look up, a little bit of Ashao and see what he's all about. I actually discovered some really cool things through doing some research. I saw some other interviews that you had done and your relatability, not only to the host of the show, which I think is an important thing to help win over the trust of those in our community, but also the way that you connected with the community of those podcasters. So I want to go back to the beginning, and I want to talk about your path from where you started to the gifts that that you have and that you have discovered through the process. So can you take me way back to the beginning of how you created the business that you created, and maybe share with my community what that is and how that actually was put together?
Yeah. So my gifts were forged in the pain of my past, I think, as many gifts are. And for me, that was a constant inability to do what I set out to do. I was constantly distracted in my work, and I would procrastinate until the last minute. I was like, in college, working, doing all-nighters, trying to get this task done at the very last minute. And it was this recurring pattern that started to develop into a sense of who I thought I was. Like I thought I was just a lazy person or just incapable of doing the things that I really wanted to do in life. And that was something that just didn't sit right with me. I knew there was a way out, but I just didn't know what was the way out.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And things really shifted for me when we had our first child. And at the time I was working a full-time job, and I felt like I was missing out on her childhood. I'd leave early in the morning and be gone all day, come back. It was dark, and I'd have a few hours with her before it was bedtime. And I didn't want to be that absent father. And that's what sparked me to want to become an entrepreneur. And also having, kids that were, our daughter, it was a real big shift for us that I suddenly had no time to myself. And so this was really my first training grounds on like, how do I reclaim time? And so, but I had difficulty in the past changing my behaviors and changing the things in my life. So I started studying neuroscience and behavior change. And what I set out to do was to create a morning ritual where I would get up before my daughter and my wife and have a bit of time to myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I did. Started implementing what I was learning and developed a solid morning ritual, but then also progressively implemented more and more habits into my life to the point where I would have friends come up to me and be like, "Well, how are you so disciplined?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Disciplined? Well, that doesn't align with my self-image."
Yeah.
but it started to shift who I thought I was, and I started to get a reputation as like the go-to guy on habits and behavior change. And so started putting on workshops and programs on goal setting and habit change and that kind of thing. And this was more on the personal side of my life. Then on the business side, I was working 7 days a week, and I had this mentality of like, okay, I just have to get more done faster. And I was stuck in what I call the hamster wheel trap of just trying to get more done faster, cram more in a day. And that wasn't working. I was like, well, this is not what I wanted to, I wanted more flexibility. And it didn't really jive with the lifestyle that I had in mind. It's like what I really wanted for my family. And so I was like, well, I've learned some things about systems and behavior change. Let's see how we can apply that to business. And so, go ahead.
What's interesting about what you're saying is, and I know that there's probably a number of people that are in our community, and maybe you can define for me a little bit closer, because you mentioned a phrase that I think is really totally appropriate, that hamster wheel trap. Because you kind of get the image in your brain that I'm just going around this wheel and nothing really is going to change, and the scenery certainly doesn't change, but man, I am going nowhere fast. So can you explain for those in our community that might be in that syndrome or in that that trap right now, what that looks like and feels like for them, if it's outside of what what I was just saying, which is literally just spinning the wheel?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you're in the trap if your to-do list is dozens of items long and you don't know what's most important, and you probably feel like overwhelmed with everything. So you're just trying to do everything, and you're just trying to get more done faster, as like, if I could just get more done faster, then I'll be able to slow down and relax. That's kind of the mindset. And that goes, hand in hand with this cultural idea of hustle and grind, and you just got to work harder and longer. But of course, the problem with this is that it's literally killing people. There's a term in Japan they've coined karoshi, which is death from overwork. And so like, it doesn't work, right? Like there's only so many hours in a day, and you can't do everything. Like, that's just the reality of it. There's always going to be more to do than you have time. And if you're focused on filling it with more, you're not going to get the results that you want.
Well, you mentioned something else, or I think you alluded to it if you didn't mention the term, that I believe that I had found either on your website or through some experience or research with you, the laser beam effect, that will help offset and escape the hamster wheel trap. And tell me the simplicity of the laser beam effect.
Yeah, so the laser beam effect is, if you think of a laser beam, there's the first component is energy. So if you think of the comparison of a laser beam to the sun emits billions of kilowatts of energy down to the earth. But the worst is going to happen if you go in the sun, it's going to get a sunburn. Now, a laser beam focuses just a few watts of energy, and that's enough to cut through a diamond. So when it comes to getting results in our life, we don't want to be the sun, where we're just doing everything and anything and just wasting our energy in all these directions. We want to be the laser beam, where we harness that energy into the proper direction. So that's really three components there. There's energy. You need to have sufficient energy, which is your basic physical health. You need to have a sharp mind. You need to have the capacity to show up as the leader that you are in your business and in your family, that's energy. You need to be able to focus. So harness that energy by plugging energy sucks like distractions and lack of organization. And then you need to prioritize. You need to know where to harness that energy in the direction that's going to have the highest impact. And that's really, what the 90-day execution plan we're going to talk about today. That's it falls under that third pillar of my Double Your Time Off program, which is perfecting your priority.
So the catalyst for you was really the recognition that, man, I'm not focused. I have these kids. I'm not seeing these kids ever. I spend a couple hours a day, probably towards the evening, not really the best quality time. When did you take it from, hey, this is a problem that I have, and I need to start addressing this, to I now have the solutions in hand, and I can teach this stuff to other people, because some people can come up with their own solutions, but it doesn't necessarily, it can't be duplicated because other people can't oftentimes follow the systems that somebody has set up for themselves. When did you realize that other people could actually do this too?
Yeah, well, there was a day where I just noticed, like, hey, I spent the entire day completely undistracted and highly effective from the beginning to the end of the day. And this wasn't even unusual. Like, this is how most days are now. And so I had this moment of realizing, like, oh, something's really changed here. And I had shaved off 20 hours off my work week, and I was actually accomplishing more than I did when I was working 7 days a week. And it was a process of realizing, like, hey, this is a skill I have, and I love to teach for many reasons. It helps me learn, but also there's just something about seeing an aha in someone and helping them shift in their life that is so satisfying to me. And that's really, now that I've seen this change in my life, I've made it my mission that I want to help people design a business and a life where they can spend less time working and more time living and bringing more fun into their lives.
So let's go over to the next phase of this interview. I'd love to know a little bit more about some of the things that you have had as those accomplishments, some of those case studies, or those people that are on your client list that, what are you finding that they are saying after going through your programs and understanding what you have to offer as your gifts?
Yeah. So one thing that comes up is peace of mind. Like, we often people don't realize the chaos that they are working in until they have structure and until they have systems in place. I think of it as like, if you're in the kitchen and someone came in and you have an important dinner to cook, and then someone comes and just like empties out all of the drawers and all of your things out of the kitchen, and you show up and you're like, you have this like important dinner, you have these guests coming, and then everything is on the floor, and they stole your recipe book too. So
oh boy, so you're screwed.
Yeah, so now you're like, oh, I don't have time to organize all this. I'm just gonna do what I can. And that's how most people run their business. They have everything all over on the floor and it's not organized, and they're trying to cook this dinner and serve these people, but they don't know where things belong. They don't have proper task management. They don't have a proper direction. Like, they don't have a recipe book of systems in place, of recurring processes that they do in their business, and what is the direction, what is the most important outcome for the next 90 days. And so they're just winging it. And when you put those things in place and you have that organization, there is a peace of mind. It's like a Zen-like feeling that you don't have to worry about things, and you can just get things done when you show up. And yeah, that's a huge one.
Isn't it great to be able to, Nice Guy community, to be able to put together a plan, even for a short period of time, even for a 90-day period of time. I know many people wake up, their day is filled with responding to emergencies, that happen in the course of the day, and they don't really have a plan. What are some of the symptoms that you would suggest that people might be encountering if they are in need of some of this, some of this help that you can provide?
Mm-hmm. Well, one, if you're working like 40, 50, 60 or more hours per week, like that's a sign that something is not working in your business, that you don't have proper systems and support set up. and that you're getting diminishing returns on the amount of work that you're putting in, which means that every hour that you put in of more, you get less and less output from that time. So that's one of them. Some of the other ones we've already mentioned, like just having a huge to-do list. You don't know what's most important to work on. And another more personal one is like, you might be spending less time with your family than you'd like, and end the day feeling like exhausted. And I know I've had my daughter come up to me and be like, hey, let's play. And I'm like, I'm too tired. Like I am spent. And then there's a guilt that comes up about not being present with them.
Yeah. I recall, and I'm relating to what you are saying. I recall there was a period in the 90s where my kids were first being born. My first was born in 93. My second was born in 96. And I probably missed the majority of the 90s because my head was so stuck in work and building a business, and that was the beginning stages of my self-employed or my entrepreneurship experience. So for me, I totally relate to what you have to say. And until you go through it, sometimes you don't appreciate or respect the I don't want to call it the suffering, because it sounds like such a, suffering sounds like there's like, some heartache that went into it. But as I look back, there probably was some suffering that was a part of it. The suffering part is optional. I used to really feel, and this is only probably within the last handful of years, I used to feel that the harder you work, the more opportunity finds you and the more potential for success. And I know that that's not the case anymore. So can you maybe just share your thoughts about harder work equals better work, or harder work equals more success?
Yeah. So I think that, at least for me, that mentality was rooted in the kind of industrial like conditioning that most of us went through, which is you go to school, you're told what to do, there's a certain right answer, you go to get a job, same thing, and then you're paid for hours. The amount of hours you put in is what you are compensated for. Once you become an entrepreneur, that is no longer the case. You are not paid for hours, you're paid for the value that you deliver. And if you can figure out a way to deliver more value with less of your time and energy, that's golden. That's you are getting the result that you want, but it's the lever that you press on is not time and not effort. It's creative thought and leveraging and creating systems in a way that you are not personally the one delivering that all of the value.
So we all know that as an entrepreneur, your business is made up of definitely many, many, many components. And one of the major hurdles that most people fail to do, unfortunately, is the planning side and having a system in place. And I know that that's the stuff that you do that's really well. From a relatability perspective, I can tell you, the stuff that has been challenging to me over the last several years of growing our turnkey business, over the last 7 years of having it. What's some of the stuff that you're still working on as an entrepreneur yourself, just to finally put something on in the win column that you feel like this hasn't been a win for me so far, I got to make this a win? What are the things that you're still looking for as your wins?
So one of the things that I've struggled with going through this process is relinquishing control. And so this is, I am meticulous and I like things done a certain way, which is probably why I've been drawn to creating systems and this kind of thing. And so when it comes to developing a team and allowing myself to let go of certain tasks, that's something that I'm still learning to do. Ongoing process of relinquishing more and more control so that I don't need to be, like I said before, be the one who's delivering the value, and allowing my teammates to do that. And so, I just did my weekly effectiveness audit, and I saw that, I'm still doing this follow-up stuff that like really I should be delegating this. Okay, like this is why I have this effectiveness review, because I'm still holding on to things that I shouldn't be.
Well, Ashao, the fact that you have a weekly, what was it called? What was the audit called? The weekly
effectiveness review.
Okay. The fact that you have a weekly effectiveness review alone tells me a lot about the amount of steps that you have taken from where you were to where you are right now. So I really appreciate you saying that. And you said it like, hey, this is something that I just do. So Nice Guy community, you just got an inside look at, and this wasn't a planned question with a planned answer on the other side of it. That was the reality of what Ashao does with his business. And I know that this is something that he would be most happy to, and you would be most grateful in receiving as someone that's on his client list, or someone that's even thinking about using his services. I know that you have a free gift for my audience. Do you have the link, or do you want me to share the link? Either way, I know you filled out this guest application a while ago.
Yeah, it's doubleyourtimeoff.com/Doug. And
well, how about that? I got my own link.
You got your own link, Doug. You're the first Doug. So
and tell me what are they going to get on the other side of that? It sounds kind of obvious. Double your time off. It sounds like it's going to be some planner or downloadable document. So what are they getting?
So it's a one-page cheat sheet to create your 90-day outcome. And so this is really identifying like what is the 1 to 3 things that are going to unlock your growth specifically for your business. Every business is different. What is the constraint that is holding back your business? And then identifying that, setting an outcome in place to unlock that. And then where most people stop is they set a goal or an outcome, but they don't really break it down to a plan. So there's 3 phases, and the third phase is the execution plan, where you actually break it down into what are the behaviors that I need to take to hit this outcome and unlock my growth.
Well, let's get started today doing it. It's doubleyourtimeoff.com/Doug. Ashao, I really appreciate you sharing your gift with my community. Thanks for sharing your message on the show today, and just thanks for being you. You're a good guy. Thanks for hanging out with me.
Oh, thank you so much, Doug. The time flew by.
Nice Guy community, never underestimate the power of nice. Again, make sure you check the show notes, doubleyourtimeoff.com/Doug. There'll be the link in the show notes, plus more information on how to get in touch with Ashao and the programs that he offers. Steve O'Brien, go ahead and take us out of here.
For the Nice Guys on Business, I'm Steve O'Brien. Fill up your week with the Nice Guys. Well, there's always money in the banana stand.